2024. We are convening the monthly meeting of the prison board. I understand that typically we have it 1 week earlier, but there was a lot of business that I wanted to make sure that the prison board was informed of. And so I thought it was important that we had this meeting today. Before we begin, I'd like to take roll.
District Attorney Lamacuzza.
Here.
Judge Motto.
Here.
Controller Preston Pine.
Here.
Sheriff Colero.
Here.
Commissioner Sanada.
Here.
Commissioner Vogler.
Here.
Having a quorum, I'm going to call to order officially this prison board meeting. We always begin with visitor comments. Other than Mr. Luffy, I don't know that we have well, I guess we do. We have the prison staff. But does anyone wish to make any comments before we move into the regular meeting? Seeing no one willing to make any comments, we're going to move for the approval of the minutes. Has everyone received a copy of the minutes? And if you've not received them, we'll take whatever time you need to review them. But absent any indication of additional time needed, I would move for an acceptance of the minutes.
I'll make a motion.
We have a motion and we have a second. Motion was by Sheriff Colero. The second was by Controller Preston Pine. All in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it. Population report. Warden?
This morning, as of this morning, we have 147 inmates. We have 6 juveniles. We have 23 females. We have 8 out of county being housed for separation purposes or court purposes. The total number of out of counties being held at the Orange County Jail is 16. We've got 2 females from Mercer, and we have 5 females from Washington.
And we'll get into the specifics associated with those out of area inmates a little bit further on in the agenda, but does that encapsulate the entirety of the population?
Yes, sir.
I would note that I believe the contract has been agreed upon. I don't know if it's been officially signed with the corrections officers. Is that?
About the union contract?
Yes.
We have not seen it.
Not seen. Oh, okay. I wasn't sure where we were.
And if I may, thank you. The commissioners do not meet this coming Tuesday due to our, you would know, Loretta, our spring conference of our County Commissioners Association. So we will not meet until March 12. So that would be the earliest that the 3 commissioners could ratify the contract from our end.
So then as it stands now, we still are pending the contract negotiations.
Has the rank and file voted?
District Attorney, they have voted. They approved the contract. We're in the final stages to prepare the document for your review and working with the union, of course.
So then it's safe to say if the union accepted an offer from the commissioners, that it's just a function of ratification that would have to be done by you gentlemen.
Once we would have the final review, yes. When was the vote taken?
Last February 21st.
By the rank and file.
Yes.
I don't know that we were given notification of that fact. But we know now, so that's fine.
Yeah, perhaps what should be done, and obviously this is a matter between the union and the commissioners, it's not necessarily a prison function, but maybe a letter should be sent saying we accepted, provide notice to the chair of the commissioners.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Approval of the bills, and I don't think we have to, I know I always ask this, or I've asked it in the past, I don't think we have to have a vote on the population report. I don't think so. But the approval of bills, they've been provided to everyone. Does anyone have any questions related to the bills? I see no one indicating they had any questions related to the bills, so I'd ask for a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Old business. Is there any old business to be brought before the board? I have several items that I wanted to touch upon. Also, this I do not believe was brought up at the prison board. If it wasn't, we'll do it now. If it was, I apologize for my forgetfulness. But There is a requirement under the prime care contract that once we hit a certain population number, that we must pay and hire an additional nurse through the contract. What I did not know is there once we've hit that population number and we have the nurse, if the population drops down below that number, do we still have to employ the nurse?
Prime Care would.
I'm sorry.
Prime Care would still employ the nurse.
But why, my question then for the prison board is why would we do that if the idea is that you need the additional nurse because the population hit a certain number? Well, if the population is no longer at that number, then what would be the justification for paying prime care for an additional?
Prime Care should go back after 60 days after the population and bill you the original rate, but they would eat the cost of keeping that nurse on staff.
Great, so we just, I guess, need to make sure that that's happening, that prime care is doing that if we dip below that threshold number.
We know what the number is? 145. Right now. 47.
Now, from a financial standpoint, it's okay to be over, especially when the overage comes from out-of-county inmates because they're generating more revenue than the cost. So it's advantageous for us. But I just wanted to make sure that we have something in place that should we drop below that amount, we're not paying for service we do not need. With regard to old business, I don't know if you saw it in the warden's report, but the body scanner is in use, similar to the airport. It's being run at the jail. Are we having any problems with it?
No, we're actually having better results. We have received 3 positive findings with it. And we've had numerous inmates voluntarily give up contraband, paraphernalia, not drugs per se, but prior to getting body scan. It's doing its job for sure.
Do the guards go through it?
No.
No, so it's just for inmates?
Just for inmates.
Okay. And my understanding is that there has also been the creation of an amnesty box.
That hasn't been created yet.
It hasn't been created. Is that still your intention?
I wanted to talk to you about that.
Okay. Is this the appropriate time?
I just didn't know if we wanted to do that. You know, there were some concerns about putting an amnesty box in it. I just haven't.
Then why don't we hold it till new business, and then we'll address the amnesty box in new business. Is there any other matters of old business to be discussed? Not seeing any, let's move to new business. The amnesty box, please tell us what that is.
That's a box that's going to be back in the strip search area that the committed inmate's going to have the opportunity to place those items into the box without prosecution. You can look at it 2 different ways, you know, whether it's a good idea or it's a bad idea. I mean, they still brought the stuff into the jail. So I just didn't know what your thoughts were on prosecution of.
Well, I guess what I could say as prison board president, my recommendation to the rest of the board would be that we should have this. This provides inmates the opportunity to disclose whatever they have before it enters general population. I think it's a good thing. From a prosecution standpoint, as district attorney, I can tell you that if they do give it voluntarily, then they would not be charged with possession of contraband inside a facility, but it will not grant them amnesty from possession of illegal contraband. So you spare yourself the felony charge of bringing it into a corrections facility, but if you had a kilo of cocaine, I'm not, you can't just turn it into the jail and walk away. You're still going to be charged with possession. But I think it's a good thing. Anything that keeps drugs out of the jail. And this body scanner creates a little bit of an interesting question, because if all of the inmates go through the body scanner and we are fairly confident that we're not missing anything, and we do find drugs in the facility, well, there's only 2 ways drugs get into a jail. And obviously we would have to figure out how they're getting in there, if that's the case. Now, fortunately, that's not the case right now. And I know that you just had the dogs, the Canine Project went through, they hit on numerous locations. I should say there were several locations.
4.
And there was narcotics or contraband found, so that's all good. Okay. All Are there any objections or conversation related to the Amnesty House?
May I ask a question of the warden?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. To your knowledge, do other counties have this in place, other county correctional facilities?
Yes, I don't know which specific counties that do, but Detective Langdon has done a lot of research on this. And there are other jails and state run, or not state run jails, but other jails, county jails that do have this in place.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
I do think it's a great idea, especially when it comes to weapons. If you can intercept that before it even has the possibility of getting into the facility, it's a good thing. Warden, there was a letter that you sent to me about a month ago, and it was related to wiping the slate clean for prior disciplinary actions in corrections officers' files. And I'd asked you about that, and you indicated that that was part of the contract negotiation. Is that correct?
After I had a consultation with Attorney McClure and Mr. Vanasco, it was an offer for that.
It was. So then that issue would be resolved, assuming that the commissioners ratify
Yes.
the counter or the offer from the corrections officers. Okay. Another matter of new business, there have been several discussions connected to what's called live scanning. In Lawrence County, there are 2 live scan machines. One is at the city of Newcastle, which is a central location, and the other one is in Elwood City. What the live scan device is, it's a fingerprinting device where you go in, you get fingerprinted, and it gives you an instant check into your background. Background checks are required by a variety of organizations. Fingerprinting is required. The proposal to bring a live scan unit into the Lawrence County Jail would not affect any of the civilian uses. It would be strictly confined to people that were going to be incarcerated. And the reason why this is something that's important is because one of the requirements when someone gets arrested is they have to be fingerprinted. And when an individual goes to central court, a lot of times the magistrates will say, go get fingerprinted. We're not going to hear the case. Also, police officers get audited, and if they are not completing the fingerprinting of these defendants, then the FBI comes in, they can suspend your privileges, and there's a lot of different reasons for requiring fingerprinting. And what we wanted to do was put it at, which is something that the chiefs of police have argued for years. It just makes sense that when you arrest someone after hours, you show up at the jail, you fingerprint them with the arrest warrant or the commitment order, and the jail can enter them right into the facility. This saves a lot of police officers and their bosses overtime. A perfect example of this is Elwood City, where Pennsylvania State Police arrest someone, they lodge them in the jail, but it's after hours, so they're not fingerprinted. They then the next day have to go pick up the person, take them from jail, get them fingerprinted, and then bring them back to jail. Police officers are usually not allowed to transport defendants by themselves. So this ends up being a 2-person job. You're driving from Elwood, that kicks in their overtime provisions and all. There's a whole host, a whole litany of reasons why financially this makes sense. From the county standpoint, this will also clean up the lack of fingerprints or the delay that results in central court when someone is not fingerprinted. This can solve it right on the spot. The expense associated with it, the machine itself is expensive, but Elwood City, from my discussion with Lieutenant Kingston, they would willingly give up the live scan machine. So we would get this piece of equipment free. I am not prepared to make an official proposal to the prison board. I just wanted to give you the information related to the preliminary discussion of it. There's some logistics that we would have to figure out, who's operating it, who's specifically trained for it. I'm assuming we'd have to train some jail guards to do it. There'd have to be sufficient numbers on the shift to be able to do it. Because otherwise, if you can only do it during daylight, well then nothing has changed. So when we have the specifics hammered out, I'll re-present it to the prison board and then decide, I guess, to send it to the commissioners for their approval. Yes, sir.
Thank you. I appreciate all that background. That's very helpful. But the one thing you said that caught my ear, you mentioned Lieutenant Kingston, but he's now retired.
I'm sorry, I didn't mean Lieutenant Kingston. Kingston's been such a fixture at the OSC
Right.
department in my mind. McBride.
Thank you.
Yes, yes.
Thank you very much.
Yes, sorry about that.
No, it's quite all right.
Yeah, Lieutenant Kingston has no authority anymore, so.
It's probably premature for me to say this, particularly since it's gonna hit Mr. Sonata cold and Mr. Kennedy were here as well. The machine that we purchased, and Loretta would remember this, the machine that recently just went into effect, did we not use grant money from either P Corp or P Comp to help purchase that, or am I mistaken? Loretta, you might remember. I thought we used some safety grant money for that.
I think some of that money, Commissioner, 75% of that Tech 84 body scanner was a grant that we received.
And I'm not sure, Loretta, do you recall? I thought it came from either P Corp or P
I
Comp.
believe you're correct,
Okay, I hope I
because
am.
the cost was $140,000.
Of course, the grants were usually only 30 or 35,000. So,
It helped to lower the cost.
okay, I appreciate you know what my memory's like. The reason I bring that up is I don't know if this type of a machine, if there is an expense involved, would qualify for one of these safety grants. We could look into it.
And it may, I think the only expense that we're going to incur would be with personnel
For operating.
operating.
So based on what you said, that would be the movement of the existing machine from Elwood City up here.
Yeah, that could be accomplished by maintenance. or
Understood.
The jail could even go and grab it. In fact, Lieutenant McBride said he would drive it up personally. So they kind of want to get rid of it, but there would be an expense associated with making sure that we would use corrections officers if this was something, but you have to train.
We receive, our county, we are members of both for our liability insurance. We belong to an agency known as P Corp, which is through the County Commissioners Association. And then for our workers' compensation, as Loretta knows, we're through P Comp, which is also affiliated with the State County Commissioners Association. For the last number of years, their financial condition has been such that they've been able to offer these safety grants. And they generally average about $30,000 per organization per year. So we're usually bringing in roughly 60,000, maybe a little bit more. And we've used them for a variety of purposes. One being out at our park at Quaker Falls in Mahoning Township, we've implemented some safety enhancements out there, fencing, et cetera. But we've also used some of them for sidewalk repair. Loretta, again, your memory's so much better than mine. You probably remember some of the other things, but just keep that in mind going forward. Now, the grants are not guaranteed year by year. It's basically predicated upon how well those organizations are doing financially. And when they're doing well, they're able to offer these grants. Some years they're not, but we have utilized them. So
Commissioner, do we have to, is it an active application or do they reach out and say, hey?
they reach out, they let us know through the three commissioners and Mr. Vanasco. They have to be safety related. They have to do something that ensures or enhances safety. Again, Loretta, did I miss anything?
No, that's it.
Okay.
That's what they're for, yes.
Thank you.
Perhaps if you'd be so kind, Commissioners, to just let us know when you receive the notice, and then we can take a look at it and then present it to the prison board as, hey, this is a grant that we'd like to apply for.
We'll be glad to do that.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
With regard to, we touched on it briefly, the out-of-area inmates. I had an opportunity to go back through January, February, and even a little bit of the prior year to look at what was the flow of these out-of-area inmates. And I know that Deputy Warden Spielvogel is also, she's done considerable work sort of ramping up a program, which we'll get into. But I just wanted to let the prison board know that the budgeted revenue for out-of-area inmates, which is really the expected revenue that the county anticipates getting, is $834,000. We have collected already $194,125 We have billed another $126,200 for January. And for February, I did not get the final billing, but I know we are between $130,000 and $150,000. Now, we are billing other counties, so the expectation is that the money is going to be paid. Assuming the low end of the bill for February being $130,000, we've generated $434,000 in revenue, and we haven't even hit March 1st yet. That means that there would be a remaining about $400,000. The anticipation is if the program continues as it's running, or if it expands, that hopefully we should be able to hit those revenue numbers, that $834,000 before summer. That is the goal. You want to tell us about what you've been doing?
Thank you. One of the things working as a former commissioner with the warden prior to becoming deputy warden, we found that there was a definite need for housing those juveniles charged as adults. They need to be sight and sound separated. They have separate instances. For example, we do have to follow compulsory school education laws. So there are a lot of moving parts with having the juveniles there. We started to reach out with, of course, the warden has different connections with different counties. Us as commissioners, as a former commissioner, there are, you do a lot of talking with other counties. We had the adequate space and availability of that space to do that. We'd actually started talking about a detention center because there's a total lack of detention facilities throughout the Commonwealth. We decided to hone in on the interest of justice juveniles because there weren't that many places that could keep sight and sound separate from inmates, adult inmates, while maintaining the inmate population within an area, and then also being able to house them within a correctional facility as is required by law. Throughout the last year or so, there have been juveniles that were brought into Lawrence County from other counties. We now have 2 from Westmoreland, 2 from Washington, and 2 from Fayette. I'm putting together a flyer brochure to be able to relay the information across the Commonwealth. I think we will have an advantage with Western Pennsylvania because we're not very familiar with other facilities that do have them. We started off with the 6. At one point, we did have 8, but one of them was our own inmate. One of them turned 18, and they were removed from that area. But we moved the juveniles to a facility, to a unit that can house up to 25 of them comfortably. They get their educational requirements. They are registered to the Newcastle Area School District. They receive all of the care that Prime Care provides to adult inmates. We have programming where we do have people come in from agencies local to Lawrence County to offer programming to them. We're developing and expanding different things that we do for them because the Juvenile Court Judges Commission does not want them languishing in an adult facility. So by offering different types of programming, then that does give us that ability to be able to keep them occupied doing things that they can do. One of the most current things that we have, and it goes back to what you were talking, DA Mamakusa, about the jail to jobs. We did just recently get a reentry grant for the next 2 years, $200,000, and the juveniles have been included in this grant. One of the things is we are working with the Career Link. Skills Up is the name of the programming, but it also offers them different opportunities to check into some different skill sets that they might find themselves being interested in. It's always expanding. It's right now we are in a good place, and hopefully I will be able to get on the road and visit other counties, let them know what we have, showcase what we have, and what we can do for the juveniles that we house. There's a definite need.
When do you think that will start? When do you think you'll be ready to do that?
Today.
But I mean, like with the flyer and stuff, I know you want to.
I apologize, the flyer is ready to go, and we did visit Westmoreland County, and I spoke with the judge there, and I did hand off some of the flyers. I apologize, I have a stack of them ready because I was actually going to ask you to take them to CCAP with you, if you wouldn't mind doing that. I did reach out to Melanie Gordon, who handles courts and corrections at CCAP, and I asked her advice on the best way to get them through. I don't know if there is because the bottom line, the judge is the one that does have to issue it in the order. You know, we want them placed at Lawrence County Corrections and from there. So I don't know if there's something that if there's a judges listserv that maybe you can help me out with getting the information to the judges.
I have a present judges listserv, I could give you that.
Okay, anything, any way, because there's so many moving pieces with it. Sometimes the county involves juvenile probation to begin with, and then it goes to the adult courts, and even with you, like with the district attorneys, I don't know who all has a say in where that juvenile may or may not end up. But I know Seth Bloomquist from the Juvenile Court Judges Commission is very adamant that programming be in place, that compulsory school education take place, that they have their recreation time, their downtime. Right now, we're setting up visitation for family members. We've had a request for different religious services or religious personnel to come in to speak with them. Yeah, so it's currently, it's just an expansion that's happening, but I
can certainly
Okay.
send a message to the other district attorneys once you give me the information.
Absolutely.
This is what we have to offer. The DA's office may be able to make a recommendation as well as juvenile probation, but obviously the ultimate decision is always going to be the court. But if the court is unaware that this is a possibility,
Yes,
so I think your approach is great. I will,
Yes,
as soon as
okay.
you get it to me, I'll send it to the DAs. And perhaps we should ask our JPO to do the same to some of their contemporaries. I understand that the judge you met with was very pleased with our program.
yes, very much so.
So that's a good thing. What are you seeing in terms of competition throughout the state? Anyone else doing this? Prices.
We do have, on the eastern part of the state, there are several different locations. But one of the things that's an advantage for us in the western part of the state, we did receive 2 juveniles that were previously housed in Lehigh. However, because it's so far away, you have that family situation that the family has a hard time getting there to visit, to be in touch with the juvenile.
Do we have any competition in Western Pennsylvania right now?
Not offering what we have. So that's my point, getting there, getting on the road, speaking with the judges, finding the correct people to get in touch with, letting them know this is what we offer. If you have a facility that right now, I'm sure there are juveniles in certain facilities that are not getting the same type of programming that we have. And I think once we make sure, that the judges are aware that we have that we would be looked upon favorably.
So we want to capitalize on the fact that
Yes.
we're first in.
Correct.
I have a
Correct.
question. I know these
Yes.
juveniles are entitled to interest justice hearing every
Yes.
30 days.
Every 30
And that's
days.
really the responsibility of the county in which they're charged, not
Correct.
us.
Yes,
Have we been doing those hearings remotely? Because that's really a
Yes.
selling point,
yes.
that they
it
don't have
is.
to transport these juveniles
Right.
back to the home county every 30 days, and we can
Yes.
do it remotely.
Those are the intricacies when you have someone, for example, we had 2 of the juveniles that we have, they had to be transported for their preliminary hearings. However, we have their IOJ hearings next week. And
That was Zoom
we're doing those remotely.
or however.
Yes, we can do those remotely.
That's great because that's a cost those counties
Yes.
just don't want to.
Transportation,
Yes.
you don't have to incur that cost.
Right.
Right.
Also on that reentry grant, I think that it's great that you guys are working with CareerLink because in the state penitentiary system, inmates can receive certification for programming, but the problem is a lot of the programming they receive certification for, no one is going to hire them to go and perform those things. There's an HVAC, we run into this all the time, where you're gonna do heating and cooling in someone's home. Well, the employers were saying, well, geez, you've been convicted of 5 burglaries. I know you have HVAC, but I just don't feel comfortable sending you into a home. So you get these certifications. But if doing it with CareerLink, you'll be able to see the jobs that are out there, the needs, and
Yes.
then tailor the
Yes.
training, so that's fantastic.
Yes.
I'd like to note for the record that Commissioner Kennedy is now in the prison board meeting. Our Mercer inmates, I noticed because you listed different counties that are providing inmates, but we're also getting inmates from Mercer, and those are our females.
Yes, sir.
Okay, and those are the counties that Washington, Fayette, Mercer, Westmoreland, with security and transfer. What is that?
That's a transport, federal transport that sometimes they need us to stay over for a night or two. So they could,
And we're an approved facility for them.
yes.
That's great. Okay. Warden, is there any other update that you'd like to make regarding new business?
I think we pretty much did everything.
May I pose a question to Deputy Warden Bill Vogel?
Commissioner, anytime you want.
Thank you, sir. It's more of a comment, actually.
Yes.
First is a logistical thing. I'd be happy to take whatever documentation you want me to take to our conference. I'm leaving Sunday, and I may not be here Friday, but I'm here tomorrow. So if you can get
You'll have
them,
them.
I'll be happy to
Thank
take
you.
them down.
Yes.
And I want to note to the board that during Commissioner Spillvogel's time as a commissioner, she developed an extensive network of relationships throughout the Commonwealth with county commissioners from all corners of the county. So her name is very well recognized and very well respected around the state in a lot of courthouses. So I hope that gives the board some comfort knowing that. Thank you.
I certainly look forward to see her success. If there's no other new business, I see none. I'd like to move to visitor comments. Commissioner, you're not a visitor. You remember.
But I'll make one from yesterday. Yesterday, first time in my life, I got to go inside a jail. And these three took us for a tour of it. And I'm never going back. But what an eye opener to what they do over there. It was amazing every little step of the way we went. I had no idea what actually goes on in that jail, but I'm kind of really proud of the people we have over there working.
There was an article in the Newcastle News years ago, and it was talking about corrections officer. And one thing that people forget about is that these corrections officers, they don't have weapons, and they are outnumbered all day long. So they are on a block, locked in with inmates, and their only real defense is their ability to exercise verbal judo and to be able to communicate and earn the respect through their actions and their words instead of through some sort of use of force. It is a very, very difficult job and dangerous. And so I'm glad you had an opportunity to see that.
There was this little young lady in an all-male unit,
Right.
and she's in there, and I looked at him and goes, "You guys leave her in here." He said, "Don't worry, she takes care of it herself."
Yeah.
And it was amazing, I'm telling you. So I'm proud of them, and I hope, the rest of the Orange County are proud of what they do, because it's a secure area over there for what we got to go through.
Well, hopefully this message will be passed on to the corrections officers.
But thank you guys again.
Thank you.
Sure. We let him out. Somebody slipped us a
But I'm
note to keep him in.
And they take me in a room, and then they put me in the elevator, it goes about half an inch a second. Well, get me out of here. So, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Any other visitor comments?
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
You know those figures you gave out
Yes.
that are coming in from inmates coming in,
You mean the money?
the money?
Yes.
How much is going out for inmates in other prisons, and is that included in that, or
You
is it
mean
subtracted from that, or is it
when you say money going out, you mean sending our inmates to
the
other
other
prisons?
jails? Yes.
That is not factored into this amount. We are not, the reasons why we send out our inmates is not the reasons why we're receiving inmates.
Right, but you're paying to send them somewhere else,
Sometimes.
even though you're getting money to come in, how does that balance out?
We'd have to take a look at it, which we certainly can. I would say this from my own personal experience. A lot of security exchanges are friendly exchanges where we do not pay. is where the warden calls for a favor of reimbursement, says, hey, look, I got a person that I can't house them, so then will you take them? And then the wardens, and I certainly won't speak for you, I've just seen it a million times, you sort of have this informal exchange policy where you take some person's problems and vice versa, but the county never pays for that. Where the county would pay it and where we paid in the past, are those situations involving where juveniles, we've had to send them someplace. That obviously could be expensive, but for the purposes of the next meeting, we can get the number of what we are actually spending to send the inmates to other facilities. Is that, we're not spending anything? No. Well, just do me a favor, take a look at it, let's just make sure that we confirm. I didn't think we were, but, we want to make sure we get.
Luckily, we have very good relationships with all the county wardens basically on the western side of the state, so.
Luckily, we, as Lawrence County, are fortunate that you have relationships with all of these other wardens, so thank you for that, Warden. Thank you. Any other visitor questions, comments? Is there a need to move into executive session? If so, I would need a motion. I see no indication moving into executive session. That being said, I would need a motion to adjourn.
Move to the adjourn.
Motion's been made,
Second.
motion's been seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The ayes have it. Meeting adjourned.
I found it.
I-